Okay, so if I say sine of x is negative 0.3, I've got to do it a domain of minus 2 pi to pi. There's a couple of things we need to consider here. Alright, so this is definitely a calculator question because negative 0.3 doesn't fall in any of your easy to remember ones. Okay. So you've all gone to your calculator. How do you work out what x will be if I do sine of what?
Sine of minus 1.
Okay, so the inverse sine of minus 0.3. Okay? Okay, on your calculator, do that for me and tell me the answer. X equals negative 17.46. And if that was a test, do you get full marks? Why? Okay. Got to be in. Also, is that an answer? Is that an answer I can give?
It's only for the degrees, right?
Yeah.
But you need a radian.
Exactly. I've asked for it in radians. That's in degrees. So it's not a valid answer. Just not correct. You're telling me it's minus 17 radians. That's not true. So what if you turn your calculator to radians mode? What do you get?
Minus 0.3.
So sine to the minus 1 or negative 0.3 equals minus 3.04. So that one, what did I say? 0.304. 305 rounded. Okay, so it's a minus. Alright, so this is in radians. Alright, so I've got an answer, but it's still a bit rounded and a bit messy, and the whole point of being able to work in radians is we would be able to give it in terms of, sorry, in terms of pi. Alright. Yeah? So, we might not actually get a nice answer for this one, but what we've got to be able to do is be able to convert into whole values of pi. Well, this is probably not going to work very nicely. We've got to be able to convert from degrees into radians and radians into degrees, as well as just get our calculator to do it right in that way. But you can see how on your calculator you will get an answer in radians or you get an answer in degrees. So in the past it's always been make sure your calculator's on degree mode. That's all you need to do. For you, SL, you have to flip between the two depending on which value you're given. Make sense? Alright. What would the other solutions be? Are there any other solutions? How would I know? So we've got that as our only solution at the moment, yeah, this one. But I've got a domain of minus 2 pi to pi. So what am I going to do? I need to check.
And divide this by... Oh, to see how many times. You got the idea.
No, I've got an answer. That falls within this domain, yeah? Do we think, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Do we know what minus 2 pi is as a decimal?
minus 206.
Minus what?
minus 6.2.
Minus 6.2. Oh, yeah.
Ah,
Alright, so that does fall within the domain. Any ideas how we decide if there are any other solutions? You should have ideas based on what we were talking about before.
as in like what we're doing before.
Are there any other x values? So just because it's not a nice value now, it doesn't matter. I found the first one using my calculator. Is there another one?
You can add 90
Yes.
to see.
So how do we do it? So if we like
So you can add
circle,
half of pi.
Minus.
Yeah, half of pi. Oh no,
Just
pi.
so what we're going to do, so here is our unit circle we've talked about. Where is this
Like
solution? Where would the line be?
Tiny,
It's
tiny.
down.
So I'm looking where sine of x is minus 0.3. So that means I'm going to have probably 1 there. Got that? Do you know why?
Yeah, because there it's negative sign.
Yeah, because remember,
Quadro or
it's,
whatever.
it's the length is this length, isn't it? That is sine. It doesn't only apply to all the nice values. This length is what in this question?
The red one?
Yeah, that red line there. So what,
Wait, we were just talking about it. The sun.
but what is that length? The number?
0.05.
It's
0.3.
sine of x is minus. So this length here is so it would be at minus 0.3. Yeah, that's the length. So the coordinates of that point would be whatever cos is, but I don't care. I haven't got it worked out. But it would be minus 0.3. You got that? So it's no longer a fraction. It's not the ones I have to remember. It's what my calculator has told me. Right? Actually, this solution here is what angle? It would be that angle if it was positive, yeah?
So the other way.
But does that fit within my domain?
No.
No, because?
It's the other way. It's minus 2 pi.
So it's past, not 180, but it's past pi. So this side I can't consider. Alright? So I have to go the other way around. Okay, what angle is that?
That's
In radians.
It's pi minus the negative.
Why is it pi minus this?
Because it's the full.
Because which one does the calculator work out? First one. Where's the first one? So it's here, isn't it? Over here. So this is the one here, the negative 0.3 that I worked out. And this angle here is what? Minus 0.305 radians.
Mr. Fox.
Yeah.
How are you able to place minus 0.3 on a circle if it's not a terms of pi? You know what I mean? Like
But 0.3 was an exact answer. It was a number I gave you.
yeah, but do you do it?
But we don't really need to place it exactly. It's a rough sketch because all I need to see is remind myself about the symmetry of the circle. Where is there another place, another angle that will be minus 0.3? And yes, it's over here. That's all that I'm saying. So how will I find this angle now? Well, if I know that's minus 3.305, as Nikita said, this one will be pi minus 0.35, yeah? But minus that value, right? Now, again, we're all in decimals, so if I did that on my calculator, what do I get?
Negative 2.8.
Okay, so I should have pi minus 0.305 gives me 2.836. I've got minus 2.836. Right, again, it's not in terms of pi, but it is a value, it's a solution, and it is in radians. Okay, so there's another solution.
Do we still go give our answer in terms of
Well, this probably won't round to being a whole number of pies, if you know what I mean. I can't give it to a whole number of pies. There's no point saying it's 2.348 pi when I've rounded the 2.348. What's the point? It's only worth doing if it's pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 3 pi over 2, that kind of thing. So as soon as I have to round the number that goes with pi, there's no point. Yeah. This is just as relevant. Okay. Any questions on that?
So which way then is the domain? Because it's a minus 2 pi. So
Well, exactly. So I've got to go minus from. I can go from pi to minus 2 pi. All right. So I have a solution at minus 0.305. Is that all right? I have minus 2.836. Is that all right? Yeah. Because that's still, if I'm going this way round, that's only got me past minus pi. How far can I keep going in this direction?
for another pi?
I can go all the way around, can't I? All the way round to minus 2 pi if I go that way. But is there another solution?
Because it's not going to be minus 0.3.
Do you all get that, guys? Yeah, so if I go round, if I go past minus pi, remember that's the angle, the domain is for the angle, but I need sine of that angle to be negative 0.3, alright? But if I go past minus pi, sine will be a positive, yeah? So some people, if they're not thinking, would go, oh yeah, well, that's minus 0.305 and that's minus pi, minus 30. Then I'm just going to go above as well and go, well, it's pi plus 0.305, and then it's over here as well, which is minus 2 pi minus 0.305, and they would give 4 answers. But the problem with these ones are, pardon?
They don't fit in
Fit in what though?
the domain.
They do fit in the domain.
the ring.
Oh.
They don't fit which bit? This bit.
Plus,
The answer to sine of whatever that is will give me a positive 0.3, not a negative 0.3. Do you understand the difference? Question?
If you were to put modulus on the x, would that mean that there is no solution?
So
Because it
if you wrote sine of x like that
minus
equals minus 0.3,
that would make no solutions for any of the negative signs.
yeah, so you're right, because whatever angle you had, you'd have to turn it positive, and there'd be no solution. You wouldn't get it, would you?
Could they throw in something
No.
like this?
They wouldn't. Okay, makes sense? Right, I've got another one question for you on this question, which is, what if I were to change the domain to, instead of minus 2 pi to pi, What if I were to ask you for solutions where x was 0 to 4 pi? So everything else still applies, but what if I were to change the domain from minus 2 pi to 0 to 4 pi?
4 pi is double then, is it?
Yes.
So that means it's like
Going round the
Twice.
circle twice. So again, I've got sine of x is negative 0.3, but I only want a domain between 0 and 4 pi. So I want to know what x values, again in radians, can I use. And the numbers are all there, we don't really need to work anything out, but what would we say? What answer does your calculator give you again?
Negative 0.
yeah.
And does that fit in the domain? No. So I just want you to be aware of that. Why does your calculator... Well, actually, does that mean there are no solutions?
No.
No, there are no solutions, or no, it doesn't mean there's no solutions?
No.
Okay, so what are the solutions then? If I've already worked out that what the calculator gives me is that worked fine for this one, but this number does not fit in that domain. So x being minus 0.305 radians is not allowed.
Would it be?
Well, it's got to be positive, 0 to 4 pi.
Would
What values?
Would you do if you're going that way, anti-clockwise?
So we have to go that way round, don't we?
Would it be the first, the red sign?
So this
Yeah,
here,
2.3. Would it be pi minus negative 0.3?
but remember we still want negative 0.3 as our sine of x. So I have to actually, let me redraw. That probably needs to redraw that circle. Okay. Right. So again, so where am I looking for again? I still need negative 0.3. But on this question, I could go anti-clockwise, but only as far as pi, and there were no solutions, so I had to stop. But then I could go clockwise all the way around until I found a solution. So if I do from 0 to 4 pi, which direction can I not go? Clockwise. Which I can't go this way round is out of the question. I can only go this way round. How many times round do I go? 2 times. Okay? So, where is that first solution?
Negative 0.3, it would be in the...
So it has to be the same place the other one was, down here, isn't it? So that would be negative 0.3.
So it would be pi minus...
No,
Pi plus.
Oh,
exactly.
plus.
So the first solution is actually pi plus what?
Negative
Negative
0.0.
Positive.
Because it was only negative because you're
You're going that way.
going this way round. Plus 305. So that's pi plus 0.305. The next solution is same place it was before. It's not moved. We've just gone at it from a different angle. So it will be,
2 pi minus...
yeah, there's a couple of ways to do it. It's going to be 2 pi minus 0.385. But, do I stop there?
No.
No, because I can actually go
Once again.
all the way around again.
That would be 2 pi plus 0.5.
No.
3 pi.
3 pi
And that would be 4 pi minus 0.
plus 0.305. And yeah, keep going around again, would be 4 pi minus 0.305. Okay, so all those values.
Also, it's adding because of the number of times you're going around, right? Like pies.
Yeah, exactly. So once I've gone 2 pi, I've now gone 3 pi's, 4 pi's, 5 pi, 6 pi, you know. That is maybe easier seen for those of you that might remember your graphs of circular function. Right? What does the graph of sine of x look like?
It's like an oscillation.
Yeah, so
That's a fancy one.
remember, so if I do 2 of them, 2 wavelengths, how far have I gone? So instead of 360 degrees now we have 2 pi, and instead of 720 I have 4 pi. So you should see that the first solution to negative 0.3 is here, and that value happens to be pi plus 0.305. The next one is at 2 pi minus. The next one is all the way over here. And then finally 4 pi minus, okay? Do you remember that curve from your IGCSE days? How we found lots of solutions? Right, which one did your calculator give you? The first one here? It didn't, did it? Gave the negative. Do you know why it gave the negative value? Because it's the closest to 0. Yeah. So your calculator, it starts and it does this. Alright? It sorry. It starts at 0 and looks both ways, and it comes up against the first possible solution. Alright? So in this case, it was down at 0.3 and it looked in these directions and it hit a solution there and it didn't come up with one there, so it gave this answer. So that's why it gave an answer of minus 305 radians. So you've got to remember that. If your calculator gives you a negative answer, but the domain is all positive, there's nothing wrong, nothing's broken, it's just you've got to figure it out. Alright? Make sense? Okay. So, I'm going to ask you, just from me, right? Find the solutions.
How we allowed to use the graph to find the solution?
Use whichever method you want to use. Okay?
Can we go over the graph again?
Right, don't forget, if you're going to use your calculator, if you want to put sine of x in, so I'll put y equals sine x. If I were you, you can put cos of x in as well, then you've got them both there. I'll switch off the cos graph because I'm not using it right now. Right, but if I'm in radians mode, alright, what do I need to set my window to?
Minus 2 pi.
Okay, so if I'm going to do, depending on what the domain is, I can set it to, and use the pi button, minus 2 pi to 2 pi, and it converts it for you already.
But what about the
the y value doesn't change.
One.
So it's minus 1 and 1. I'm going to put minus 1.1, just have a bit of clearance. 1.1. If I do my graph, I get it. Right? Now, just to show you what happens if you've got it wrong. So if I go to mode and now convert that into degrees, well, now my 6.2 is no longer radians, it's degrees. So it looks like, it's amazing how many people say, oh, it's done it wrong. I've got a straight line. It's not a straight line, it's just so zoomed in that it looks straight. So I would have to go to window and do 360 to 360. And just by changing my window, I then get the same graph back. Alright? So, you can use your calculator, but really, once you've found the first one, it's just about knowing the symmetry of the curve, that's all. Knowing where it crosses. And it's up to you how you want to do it, but the coordinates, for some reason, it likes using the other one. So I'm just going to give you a couple then. So let's have sine of x equals root 3, right? X being between 5 pi over 4 and minus pi over 3. Okay. Okay, so there's a few questions for you. Think carefully. Write down all possible solutions with those given domains. Right, guys, I just want to check. Sine of x is root 3. What I was hoping you'd go for is, root 3 is one of those I'm supposed to know. Yeah? You thought that, and you were like, alright, yeah, root 3. Thing is, what is root 3 as a decimal? Can you tell me quickly?
1.732.
1.7, like, it doesn't matter anyway. What does sine of x go up to and down to?
1.
And
-1.
therefore, sine of x will never be more than 1. Therefore, this doesn't happen. So there are no solutions to that. No solutions at all. And what about d then? Cos of x being 2.1? There are also no solutions to this either. Alright? But these two are fine, no?
Yes.
Sine of x being 0.7 minus 0.2, they're fine. Okay.
So we'll do B and C.
Well, you're going to do A, B, C, and D, but we did it so that, you know, the fact that there are no solutions is not a non-answer. Okay? Miss Titus had a thing up on, there are no answers, there are only solutions. Okay? Therefore, your answer needs to be, there are no solutions. Alright? You answer a question, you give solutions to an equation. Right, let's have a look at the first one. Okay, we'll do it together. Whether you want to use the graph or whether you want to use the circle. I'm going to use the circle. Okay. Now, we are doing sine of x equals a positive 0.7. So, what that means is that in my unit circle, okay, positive sine of 0.7 is actually somewhere up here, because it's almost 1. It's, you know, it's not far. So that would be a positive sine, and this would also be up here, positive sine. So just to remind you that the sine distance is this distance here, isn't it? Do you remember that? So if sine is positive 0.7, that's what I'm saying. I only need a positive 0.7 distance. Alright? Another way, if you want to use the graph to think of it, right? If I've got my axis there, sine kind of goes up and down and up. Okay, and then carries on this way. Just a rough sketch. That's all I've done. If I'm looking at positive 0.7, what that means is I'm in the top half here, and I need to draw a line, and all of those where it crosses are my solutions. So it's up to you which one you want to use. But actually, a lot of people think the graph is the easier one to use. Right? Now, I then look at my domain, and I'm in degrees mode, but I'm only interested in negative 360 to 720, which on the curve then looks more like I can ignore everything up to that point, but then I've got to do everything here. Right? So I'm only looking between these two values, so negative 360 to negative 720 on the graph. Okay, so I'm looking for those. It's just two solutions there. That's all I'm looking for. All right. On the circle, I know it's negative, so it means I've got to start at 0 and go this way round. So I'm going to go that way round, and then I'm also going to go all the way around until I get that point, because it's negative angles. So remember what I said, the difference between a negative angle and a negative sine. Now, I'm not going to start at 0, because I'm actually going to start at negative 360. So I've already done that. So I had to ignore everything. But if I do x equals the inverse sine of 0.7, what do I get? So, well, degrees, obviously. So I'm in degrees, so let's do, have you done it?
Yeah, 44.43.
44.43. 44.4. I'm just going to do 44.4 degrees. Alright? Clearly, that's not within my domain. But what I do know is that the calculator has given me that solution. Alright? So that would be like, on my circle, going that way round and getting 44.4 degrees. So how can I use that to my advantage?
Symmetry.
So we've got symmetry. Okay. So I can do it one of two ways. I can either go, well, it's actually start with minus 720 and just go back 44 degrees, would be one. What would this value here be if I've gone minus 360 around to what? Minus 540? So it'd be minus 540 plus. So my two solutions that are here, same thing, look, be minus 720 plus 44.4, and it would be minus 360, what did I say? Minus 360, so minus 540, sorry, yeah. Minus 540, take away another 44.4. Do you understand why that's plus 44.4 and that one subtract 44.4?
I'm getting a bit mixed up with it. I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Why.
It's minus sign.
Do you remember I'm going in the negative direction? So if I, so I know that on the, is this yours? Oh. So we've got, what do I say, sine of x equals negative 0.25? Sorry, cos of x. Okay, so the same thing applies. So you've done the inverse cos of negative 0.25 gives you what solution?
8.4.
So we should be in radians.
8.12.
So you've got 8.12 radians, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And
Because we've got to give it pi to 3 pi. So is cos of minus 0.2 is 8.12 radians the answer, the first answer?
no, well, the number before is smaller, but I will push it.
Okay.
The other one is 4.
Well, what does your calculator actually give you? Is what I want to know.
1.8.
So is 1.8
Yeah,
radians. That's what your calculator gives you,
but it's less than.
but that is less than pi. Okay? So what that would be in our circle again, if we use our circle. Alright? Right. So pi is starting over here. So I've got to go which direction? I've got to go positive. Now cos minus 1 minus is, so I need cos to be a minus 0.25. So in my circle, which region am I using? So the left hand side. So cos being negative is, no, I need to lessen this up. Cos being negative 0.25 is going to be something like that, isn't it? So that would be an angle kind of up there and down there. Right? So I'm not allowed to use it the first one, so I've got to keep going until I've got to this point. Right? If that's, so cos is negative 0.25. So what's this angle? So we were at 1.8 radians. Which angle would that have been? That would have been here, wouldn't it? So that's 1.8 radians. So how do I work out what that one would be? Well, is it pi plus 1.8? It's definitely pi plus something.
Oh, I mean, 0.
Well, if all of that is 1.8 radians, basically I need to know,
Minus 1.8.
so it's pi, so I've got to work out this, what have I got to work out? That bit, because that's the same as the other side, yeah? So how do I work that bit out? It's pi minus 1.8 radians. So actually that is pi plus pi minus 1.8. Okay? So what's that answer? Did you say 8 point?
2 pi's is 3.
So let's be careful, because it's pi plus and then pi minus 1.8 is 4.48. 4.48 radians. Is that your first solution? Okay. Then we keep going round, and the only time it comes up again is when we've gone all the way round this time. Well, the next one though is quite easy then, isn't it? It's 2 pi plus, for those of you that are very quiet and just writing down what I write down.
Or
2 pi plus 1.8 radians. Okay, that gets me to that point. And then I have to go again to that point, because, or do I? No, because 3 pi stops there. So at this point, so this bit doesn't work. So 2 pi plus 1.8, you reckon, is 8.12 radians? Is that what you said? So I've got my 2 solutions. Only 2 solutions in all of that. Okay? Okay guys, let's have a quick look. I'm hoping that you'll have done these. Right, ladies. So, first of all, what I've done is this is a screenshot from my calculator so I can use it. See, I did that. That's all that is. So you can sketch yours in an example. First of all, got cos of x is 0.65. Now, cos of x is 0.65. That means which parts of the circle do we need to be in? Well, it's a positive value, which means 0.65 cos of x is going to be like that. So we either have, okay, so if I draw the sine in, right, that's what sine would be, but we're not really interested in sine. What we do need are, so it'd be that and that. Because this line here is 0.65, that's the cos line. Right, so the angles. So this angle here, you've worked out as what? Cos minus 1 of 0.65 is? Pardon? 0.86 radians. Okay, so we've got 0.86 radians, and we've got, going the other way, minus 0.86 radians. Okay? Now, remember, in the positive turn, we can go to that line and then carry on all the way round to that line. We can do both. In the negative direction, we can get to this line, but then we only go that far, so there's no other solution. Alright? Now, the other thing, if I do it in terms of the graph, I've got minus pi, 2 pi. I'm looking at cos, which this curve is 0.65, so I just draw a line across at 0.65. My solutions are here and here, okay, right, and here. So, which one does the calculator give you? It gives you 0.86 radians. This one, therefore, is obviously also at minus 0.86 radians. How do I find this one then? Well, I could do an intercept on my calculator, but how could I do it, using the similarity? Yeah, 2 pi minus 0.86, because obviously that is the 2 pi. Same thing I would do on the circle, but it just looks a bit cleaner on the graph, I would say. Maybe a bit easier. Can you see it easier on the graph, maybe? So you can see why, if it's a non-calculator question, potentially knowing how to sketch the curve is going to help you. Okay.